Would you vote for an AI prime minister or president? Interesting thought experiment, right?
It's a great question. It's a very simple answer.
There was an interesting discussion around blockchain being the savior for AI because of the fear that... And look, you can't pin your hopes on one thing. And I think there's a combination of things that need to happen, clearly, like you say.
It's interesting because Weibo, that kind of everything app in the Chinese market works really well. Businesses have tried that multiple times in Western society, which is if it can do everything, it can see and hear and understand, why would you go somewhere else, including places like Google? That's what the play here is.
Old Sam Bankman-Fried.
SBF.
SBF. Could be a supervillain, could be an absolute muppet. We don't know. Anyway, they're in a bit of trouble, FTX. They got quite a few people knocking on their door saying you owe us money. Might be sort of $4 billion worth, something around that. The prosecutors are saying he's a super villain, calculated, stole money, right? We'll find out. We'll find out what happens.
Yep. Hello. We're back. This is not the same day as the previous episode. Or is it? I've got my glasses on, so.
Just turn your shirt inside out and then they'll never know.
I did that this morning, actually.
Yeah.
Starting to smell a little bit. How's it going?
Very good, mate. Very good. I think to say we've had an interesting couple of months would be an understatement, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
The appetite for knowledge and also to do stuff from companies is growing significantly. So
it is, yeah. Great conversations, isn't it? And again, isn't it such a great area to be in, that the sectors are so different. Without naming names, we're talking e-commerce and finance and lifestyle and leisure, medical devices, healthcare. I mean, AI is everywhere, right?
It's so broad. And somebody said to me the other day, what industries do you guys work in? And I went, we've no idea. Maybe we'll refine that in the next few months. But I think one of the things we wanted to do, wasn't it, when we launched, only a few months ago now, was go fast, keep everything very light in terms of overheads, and test the market, right? See where it is, because, we've been around the block a couple of times. When new technologies come out, there's a lot of interest, but there's sometimes a gap between the interest and the ability to implement it in a business, the actual sign-off of budgets within a business. So we got out and we tested it quick, and I think what we can say now is the market's ready and needs help and wants to buy intelligence and thoughtful applications of this technology.
And that's the key thing, isn't it? There's lots of noise around. I mean, I don't know, we're in the middle of it, so it kind of feels, it's probably less noisy with all the tool sets coming out and everything else. But even this week, Canva, loads of stuff, the new kind of, I'll tell you what, if I were Figma and Adobe, I'm a little bit concerned about it because Canva is quite an easy tool to use. They've launched a whole ream of stuff for people to kind of democratize, the simpler versions, if you like, of video and text and writing and so on. So lots of things happening, a bit more less noise maybe after what would I call a quieter summer in vertical, but it's gone absolutely mental again, isn't it? Yeah. In terms of from their perspective, but from our perspective, we've been busy all the way through. Yeah. So lots of exciting things happening. We're fast moving, fast growing, couple of months in, proving the model. Good place to be in it.
Yeah, completely. And already there's some interesting conversations, I think, coming back from the type of companies we're working with, which are like, do you buy or do you build in this area, right? The buy versus build strategy. And some companies have, much more of a buy strategy. Some have much more of a build strategy. But what we're seeing and obviously what we're working on is that, there is a combination, and getting that right is quite important because, if you buy an AI product and implement it within your business, you've got to know where the limitations are, like any software product. You've got to know where your data's going. And a lot of these products, the drive is to take all the data they get from all their clients and to use AI to understand it better and create more of a position in the market. So knowing what's happening in terms of sort of the underlying drivers behind a product is super important. Yeah. Building has its own challenges as well, obviously. But what we're finding is that conversation around buy or build is one that is definitely there and is going to be ongoing for sure for a while.
Yeah, it is. Because the black box of AI within build, there's benefits to it, right? It's off the shelf to a certain extent. It's easier to buy, but again, the ongoing proprietary versus open source conversation, which we're having with plenty of people, and the ability of the smaller LLMs, large language models, being better over time, and those smaller kind of unique LLMs within certain areas have become more prevalent, right?
Yeah.
So that's an interesting question. So we're definitely having conversations around that, which is, okay, and it's not just the GPT conversation, there's plenty of other models, as you all know, within open source.
That's it.
The llamas and Red Pajamas, half of what's on Hugging Face, Falcon, all these, all these more technical kind of terms. But basically, it's what's appropriate for your business.
Yeah.
And some of those obviously are being used within AWS and Azure and so on. So the whole area is becoming more enterprise-based very quickly for a couple of reasons, really, isn't it? It's so big, and the investment, the billions upon billions of pounds of investment that's going into it. And we saw Anthropic, interestingly, had a £4 billion investment from Amazon, I think 2 weeks ago. They've just talking about topping up with Google now on another 2 billion. So this is moving very quickly.
Yeah.
And not to make just sexy numbers for the sake of it, but that the big numbers mean more people use it. There's more ability for business to get involved. There's more trust. So therefore, the benefits of all that kind of technology for your operations, your ads, your services, your customer service, all the kind of different areas that AI can help is becoming kind of table stakes, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's
completely.
what we're
Well, look, and like the internet did as it came out, you would buy products to use as a company, but ultimately, if you knew where it was going to go when it first came out, the internet, what you would do as a company is you go, we got to take a long-term vision on this. We've got to make sure we have enough understanding internally and we're upskilling our teams at the same time as implementing new ways of working, because it's a shift. It's not a let's buy a product, see what happens. It's a fundamental strategic shift to say we need to implement this technology within the right areas of our business in the right way, and this is going to be over the next 20 years to survive. This isn't buy the right product now and we're set. This isn't like back in the internet days, build one site and leave it and you're done. No, it's companies that adopted a digital strategy ended up progressing faster than the ones that didn't, and everybody needs one now. Like, you wouldn't meet a company without a digital strategy. So I think we're in that world as well, which is very, very different. Which is good. But so Anthropic, interestingly, I came across something the other day which made me chuckle. FTX, don't know if you've heard, they're in a bit of trouble. Old Sam Bankman-Fried, or however you pronounce his name. SBF, could be a super villain, could be an absolute muppet. We don't know, right? His defense is saying he's a muppet. The prosecutors are saying he's a super villain, calculated, stole money. Right? We'll find out. We'll find out what happens. Anyway, they're in a bit of trouble, FTX. They have got quite a few people knocking on their door saying you owe us money. Might be sort of $4 billion worth, something around that. Anyway, they put $500 million into Anthropic. Now, in their latest round of investment and their valuation, I think that means FTX's investment is worth several billions of dollars. Maybe even enough to clear all their debts. So we might see AI save FTX and FTX come back and Sam at the helm.
Top of the tree again.
Do you think? Would you put money on that?
So the headline is AI saves crypto.
AI saves crypto.
Wow.
That might be the headline.
I click on that. Why is that? I saw the documentary on. He's a fascinating character.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? Genius or supervillain. Got a bit of both, probably. Certainly smart guy.
Yeah.
But you have a strong feeling that this is not the end of the story.
I mean, he's a super smart and super stupid guy at the same time.
Yeah.
Judging on what's happened, right?
I did see, just on to riff on that, I did see something this morning, and the Department of Justice, I think I'm right in saying, have basically tried to poo-poo that defence by saying, no, you can't just say that because one of your investments worked out. That ignore all the bad stuff. No, I didn't defraud anyone. So I don't know, but you can see where they're going with it. If we pay for them back, we're all good, right? I can just trip off down to
that ain't gonna work. No,
Sand Hill Road for my next gig. It's like,
I don't think so. Happen? I think he's got a few more problems, a few more hurdles to get over there.
So not bad AI, more bad crypto.
Bad crypto, yeah. And look, people, throw shade on crypto for that, but ultimately, we've had a history of people making poor decisions in companies for their own benefit forever, right? This is not a new thing. This is just a person at the helm of a company, either being completely incompetent or swindling the system to make money. I mean, finance is littered with these stories, right?
I've got a rogues gallery.
Yeah.
So I mentioned a few.
Go on.
Elizabeth Holmes.
There we go.
Bernie Madoff. Whoever the Enron CEO was.
Yeah.
There's been a few, isn't there?
There's been a few.
But the story's interesting, isn't it? Because what's happening is people are just pushing the envelope, as they say. Now, where do you drive into kind of like pushing technology to downright lying? Like, Theranos, a great example. It doesn't work. It never did. And we're going to be one little pinprick to the, you've cured everything. Obviously, barefaced lie. But it does kind of talk to a little bit of the hype around these technologies and people losing their minds over the possible money. Yep. That's just human nature, unfortunately. That's just the way, and that's not going to stop.
Yeah, exactly. And onto that, actually, there was an interesting discussion around blockchain being the savior for AI. So almost in reverse of what we're talking about here, because of the fear that AI has the potential as it grows and it's embedded in more places and it becomes more intelligent or more impactful, to obviously be making decisions that we don't know about. And so having a sort of more transparent technology that sort of underpins it so that we have more, understanding of where decisions have been made, how they've been made, and some sort of audit is an interesting area. And I think, I could quite easily see blockchain playing a part in the future of AI, actually in reverse to what we were saying just there.
Well, we talked about the transparency decade, didn't we? About in a world where you're not quite in a world where you're not quite sorry. In a world where you're not deeper.
You got to go deeper, right?
We're not quite in a world where you're not quite sure. One man called Tom can do the thing. So I think it's possible that blockchain could help, because in a world where you can't,
I can't unhear that now. That's the problem.
In a world where you can't unhear this, if you don't know where content, for instance, is coming from, if there's transparency around that, and you can go from X to Y and understand where it's come from and if it's real or not, that's a good thing. Watermarking is a good example. With some of the, I think Google came out and said it, some of the AI watermarking, even if it's not visible to people, which may be coming out as well. And of course, we have got the AI ethics conference being run by the UK in Bletchley Park in November. So lots of these things, I think, will be part of that conversation kind of globally anyway.
Definitely.
So lots to keep an eye on in terms of that, and regulation, of course.
Definitely. And look, you can't pin your hopes on one thing. Blockchain is not going to be the savior of AI. It's never going to be one thing. Some people putting all their hopes on that, is certainly not the right approach. There's a combination of things that need to happen, clearly, like you say, regulation, and oversight, yes, some transparency and the ability to audit it, thoughtful approach, going into the right areas, how we manage the growth of AI, because you think in a capitalist society as well, the drivers for companies to make money and profit are extremely high. And now with AI, the risk of pushing down the wrong route, which isn't actually going to benefit society or people, becomes quite great, doesn't it? I mean, this is what people are really afraid of. There's huge upsides, but also there's some sort of big downsides as well, particularly the systems we've got right now. Yeah,
I think we're going to hear more about that. And again, back to, this is an Anthropic episode, but Anthropic having constitutional AI, which is their phrase, of underpinning their model, which is kind of underreported a little bit, I feel. So their whole point has been, as I understand it, was to be a bit more clear about where their data comes from and what they're scraping and where the large language models are actually getting the data from. So their constitutional AI includes things like the UN, I think, Human Rights Act. So whether or not that's true, I don't know. I'm sure it is. But again, I think we're going to see more and more of these as more big business get involved. If you don't know what's under the hood, and ethics and transparency come into play and so on, that choices are going to start being made. And I don't think it's a zero-sum game. So there's too much big tech involved in this. And I don't think there's not going to be an OpenAI winner in this, I don't believe.
Yeah.
And you can see Microsoft already and OpenAI kind of having a slight bit of a bun fight ongoing, and see where that goes would be interesting. But nonetheless, it's an area to keep an eye on, right? Because the more questions and the more conversations we have with the clients and prospects we're talking to, those questions come up again and again.
Yeah.
The ethics, the AI, how can we trust it? Where's the misinformation coming from? How do we reduce it? And there's all answers to a lot of those questions, but it's ongoing, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Here's a thought experiment. Would you, and this is from a recent Joe Rogan podcast, would you vote for an AI prime minister or president? Now, just have a think before you say yes or no. Imagine that an AI prime minister could have a one-on-one conversation with everybody in the country to understand what they wanted, their views, their fears, their challenges, their psychology, and amalgamate all that information and build policies and structures that would benefit the highest number of people possible. Interesting thought experiment, right?
It's a great question. It's a very simple answer. We're not a political podcast, but is it a conservative government that's in power?
I mean, hopefully not. I don't.
The answer is plainly yes. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
If you look at the utopian view, that sounds brilliant, right? Personalized politics to be so actually of the people, by the people, for the people. With technology, sounds amazing, right? Sounds like a utopian science fiction film that someone should probably write. We should. Is that the truth of it, though? Again, how do you know that the bias isn't inherent in the training data? And the training data meaning, again, not being political. Look at Brexit, for instance, and so on. Can you trust people to make good decisions? I don't think you can.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
But in practice, how would it work?
Yeah, exactly.
So what do you think?
Well, I mean, my initial reaction was no, but the more you think about it and unpick it, do I trust politicians right now? No. Do you think one person, I know it's not just one person, clearly there's a party and there's lots of decisions, can make the right decisions for everybody? I think that's proven that the answer is no. Particularly when they're in a system which is driven by power and control and holding on to it more than making the right decision. So it seems a big ask for a team of people to be able to do that. And, of course, you've got bias in the models today. You need to remove that and you need to be able to understand it. But I, within 15, 20 minutes of pulling that apart, I'm not as far away from a no as I was before. If anything, I'm more erring on the side of a yes towards some impartial AI. And actually that leads into AI and DAOs as well. So, these decentralized autonomous organizations that have been sort of piloted as new ways of working. And let's be honest, they've had their problems to date because they're not that decentralized and they're not that autonomous. So sort of falls down on two of your big USPs. They're the first two. Hold on. And you're not going...
And they're not O's either.
Yeah. You're 0 for 2 on your first two big points. Okay, so there's some problems. However, spice that up with a bit of AI, a dash of AI, and all of a sudden, imagine this. So you're part of a DAO, and there's an AI algorithm that can go and talk to every member of that DAO and find out what they want and find out how they would vote and find out where they want the organization to head and what's important to them, and can amalgamate all of those interest, discussions, viewpoints into something coherent to suggest a way forward. Now that's interesting all of a sudden. That now takes DAOs onto a different level. So I do think AI has a big role to play in terms of organizational structures, again, as a co-pilot rather than, handing over all power straight away.
And is that happening?
I don't know if it's happening at the moment. I think, we're not too far off that happening for sure. And also if you think of smart contracts as well, which are basically the bits of code that sit on a blockchain that are able to run business functions more sort of autonomously. Again, you add AI to those, you go from what is a simple set of if this then that sort of functionality to like a smart contract with a brain, right? A smart contract that's got an MBA all of a sudden. And so I think when you look at those things and start adding them into new ways of working and new structures, we're going to see some really interesting use cases for this and pilots. I reckon over the next 6 months, I would keep an eye out for the first DAOs that start to look at implementing these things and how they do it.
Give me one. What's the biggest downside of that?
The biggest downside, I guess, would be the removal of the people inside these organizations and the sort of the decision-making power or influence that they have. But obviously where we are today is that a few people have a disproportionate amount of influence, like we do in all other areas of the world, right? So they haven't really lived up to their billing of what they were trying to get to, which is in essence a flatter, more sort of autonomous organization. So, we will see. But I would say watch out next 6 months.
Watch out. Well put.
Right. Good AI. ChatGPT went multimodal.
It did.
Which basically means you can do more shit in there.
You can do more stuff, yeah.
There's a fancy way of saying you can do pictures.
Pictures, yeah. It's good, though.
Yeah.
It is really good. We're using it quite a lot, right? See here speak, isn't it? It can now see here and speak.
Yeah.
It's interesting because over to Weibo and some of the older kind of Chinese WhatsApps, if you like, and X, I mean, obviously that kind of everything app, if you want to call it that, is in the Chinese market works really well. Businesses have tried that multiple times in Western society. X are trying it again now. Not sure that's going to end up, frankly, or X Twitter. But I think OpenAI are doing the same thing. That's what the play here is for big tech, which is, but if it can do everything, it can see and hear and understand, why would you go somewhere else, including places like Google or Microsoft or whatever. So I think that's where the play is. It is really good. I don't have used the, if you start talking to ChatGPT, it's actually quite useful. I like talking a bit, and that's quite fun.
What was the last question you asked it?
Did Snoop Dogg actually reply and like Tom's LinkedIn post? I know the answer to that, but I thought I'd get a second opinion, and they said the same thing. But
that was alongside how many times can I turn my T-shirt inside out before needing to wash it?
16, apparently.
Before I become a social nuisance.
Social nuisance. I've been that at least 20 years, I think, to be fair. But it's really good, though, isn't it? It's really good.
I saw some cracking images as well, right? You see the parking sign image?
It's brilliant, isn't it?
How good is that, right?
It's really good.
The world's most commonly gay parking sign.
Can I park here?
They go, I'm parking between 4 and 6. Am I allowed? Yeah, you're good. That was so good.
You're golden.
You're golden.
It is very good, actually, yeah. But even on the prosaic level, even day to day, we've done some tests on it. My random whiteboard sketches, for instance, which I can't even understand, frankly.
No one can.
And go, what was that I was thinking? Picks up about 60, 70%. So, it's OCR on acid, but it is pretty good. But then to be able to use that and then to analyze it and then use the real power of generative around the predictive stuff is really good.
Yeah.
So it is it's valuable, I think. And it's probably putting a few extra $1 billion on their share price, frankly. But they're all going to do the same thing, right? Because it's table stakes now, isn't it? So you sitting over in Mid-Journey or a Dolly to a certain extent, other kind of areas, they're all going to converge, right? Yeah. Into one simple web interface, frankly. That's what they're doing. And then from there, of course, where I think it's probably going is, it's not you going to GPT or to the things, it's actually inherent in your day-to-day utility. And the simple version of that is, putting it into your app.
Yeah.
But then put it into your skin and your humane or whatever it might be. So that's where it's going.
We spoke on the last pod, OpenAI doing a new device, phone, with Johnny Ives. So we know where that's going, right? Baked into a new hardware device that will make the use even more seamless than it is now.
Yeah, that's where it's going.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So.
What else we got? Bad AI?
Bad AI. Well,
I tell you what, I did have something funny.
Go on.
We did a LinkedIn competition. So I was using some of the tools and come up with I was doing a ridiculous stock photography test. I don't know why. I was quite late. I just thought I'll put it up there to get people to choose what the prompt was.
Oh yeah,
got some brilliant responses, and it was actually I think it was something simple like literally the prompt was something like, "Show me a ridiculous stock photography image with light bulbs above people's heads and people dancing." And you've seen the image, we'll probably show it. And the responses I got was like, Fire Festival? I was like, no.
Fire Festival,
Burning
love
Man?
it.
I'm like, not really, no. Glastonbury's like, what is this? No one came anywhere near it. I think you even chimed in too.
Yeah, I chimed in. I can't remember what I said, but
it was quite funny.
It was wrong.
But if you look quite carefully, and it's just bonkers. What it would be, I don't know what you would actually say to get that in a stock photography library. It's kind of amazing. But it was the people at the bottom that got me. So it did have a bunch of funny stuff on it. And you can see, I'm sure. But all of the, when AI, as you know, goes bad, hands and faces. And when you get multiple people, it looks really good initially until you start looking at it and going, my God, it's like some sort of bacchanalian orgy. It's like, what the hell is this? There's bodies everywhere.
Freaks you out.
8 hands.
You get to it.
Oh my gosh, the uncanny valley is a real thing.
Yeah.
So that was kind of funny. As a fun, quite
that
amusing.
was good.
So more of those, I think.
More of those, exactly. Okay, we'll wait for another one. And you've been on TikTok quite a bit recently, haven't you? Which is unusual.
I've been on TikTok more than I am. I'll tell you why. So the algo changes on TikTok quite frequently, as you know. Now, our TikTok, our fast-growing TikTok channel, with mainly me on it and not you, is on my FYP page constantly. So therefore, my TikTok usage has gone up by about 80%, which probably tells you more about me than it does about the algorithm.
Yeah.
Narcissism versus, usefulness.
Your wife's caught you on TikTok watching yourself most of the time.
More than once.
What are you looking at?
It's probably
I thought it was going to be worse,
Probably the lower half, to be fair.
In fact, this is worse. You're looking at yourself.
It is worse.
Yeah.
But the algorithm's interesting because, of course, it's just looking at what you look at. So let's serve you more of those. Now, obviously, what they can't find is more content like the content we're putting out. And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's unique in its own right.
That's because there's no one your age on TikTok. It's done an age analysis.
They're all under 20, so you're 25 years out as well.
Exactly.
So you're way over me. But it's interesting, isn't it?
It's very good. Very good. Right.
What else we got? Stuff coming up?
And just before stuff coming up, the other interesting thing I saw, which is part of like the big companies baking all this stuff into their products and everything else, is a new YouTube creator offering, AI creator offering, which looks like it's going to compete with the likes of CapCut and all the other video editing software tools, wanting to make it easier for content creators to build stuff. And I think this is a trend that we're going to see, which is the big players are going to build out functionality in their systems. So if you're thinking of starting a business in AI or building a product, you need to make sure you've got a niche and a USP that you can hold on to for long enough to either get bought or build out, because these big players are all building functionality that, if you're not careful, will swallow you up pretty quickly. So
yeah, those WRapper businesses are features, as they say, not products. So we're going to see a bit of a shakeout, I think, over the next 6 months.
Exactly. Okay, announcements. We've got an HR AI webinar coming up in just under a couple of weeks' time, specifically for anyone working in HR. We've got a comprehensive sort of overview of where we're at with AI, and we're going to show some real-world examples and what can be done tailored for that audience in terms of what's happening. So that's exciting. That's coming up. We've got a load of people signed up for that.
Yep, very good. We've also got the IOIC training coming up, which we mentioned.
Internal comms teams.
For internal comms, again, if you're working with or for a large organisation, it's for you, internal comms. And we'll be covering taking people from 0 to advanced over a 6-week period, including AMAs and groups and all sorts of interesting stuff. So that's going to be exciting, starting in November.
Fully online. If you're in internal comms, you can sign up. We'll post a link here. And again, we've got areas in that course specifically for those teams in terms of how they can go away and use it. And there'll be plenty more stuff coming up. Plenty more.
Loads more.
Loads more.
If we get around to doing them, because having a good time at the moment.
Yeah.
Running this fast growing business, right?
Exactly. And when we hire a content person, we'll be away.
content source.
They might even be able to get your TikTok up and running properly.
Well, we should probably mention
Sure.
very briefly at the end the Google Workspace incident.
Google Workspace Gate. Or as I like to call it, Roy's fiasco with Google Workspace.
Supported by Tom.
Yeah.
Manfully supported by Tom.
Okay.
So what happened, Com? We're building in public. We're open about where we're going.
Yeah.
The areas we're driving into, the successes, and also some of the challenges we've had, right?
Yeah.
One of those being when we changed over our operations to fully on Google Workspace, somehow, somewhere, the machines deleted our YouTube channel, did they not?
Yeah, they deleted our YouTube channel. We had somehow managed to create, both of us, multiple Google Workspace accounts, which meant we couldn't create a company one. So we had to enlist help from our technical director, who came in, and I think I overheard him talking to his wife and saying something along the lines of, how the fuck are these guys going to run a business when they've managed to cock Google Workspace up this badly?
It was worse than that.
Right?
It was worse.
I mean...
It was terrible.
I jumped on one call, he just had his head in his hands. It's like...
I've not talked to him since, to be honest. In fact, he won't take my calls.
I mean...
The last thing I heard, and he's God bless, he's a great guy. He mentioned email amnesty. I was like, okay, we're in that, are we? Okay,
Yeah.
right, okay. So he did help us, though. It's all sorted now.
Luckily,
So
we're set up.
We are ready.
We're back up and running, and hopefully, I think we've got a new YouTube channel as well.
Correct.
Good. Righty-ho.
That's it.
That's it.
That's the pod. Thanks for watching and listening.
You won't be able to unhear that. Good luck.
Cheers.